Colleen Kelly, and this is Round Trip with Colleen Kelly, your go-to podcast for unforgettable travel stories, top tips, and all the adventures that you've been waiting for. And today I have Suzanne on. She's actually been to a country I have never been to before. It's going to be a great interview, and I'm going to learn a little bit along with you. So it'll be fun. Hey, everybody. So you're going to be so excited about my next guest. Suzanne Kenzer is one of my good friends. She's a travel journalist who has traveled the world, knows everything and most things. I personally think so. But she's going to tell us about Copenhagen, and which I've never been there. So Suzanne, thanks for being on the show. I'm so excited you're here, and we finally get to see each other face to face.
I'm happy to join you and to see your smiling face again. We're both always on the road, and so it's nice to connect here on your podcast. My first time here.
Yeah. Well, you've been on the radio show many times before,
Yes.
but we haven't done the Zoom thing. So this is great to see each other. But we do have to see each other in person, like everybody. We do that sometimes.
Yes.
But Suzanne, you're here, and you just got back from this amazing trip to Copenhagen. How do you pronounce that?
Copenhagen is how I pronounce it, but
okay.
I have a hard time pronouncing anything in the Danish language. So
okay, so for us Americans, yeah, Copenhagen, Denmark. And again, I've never been there, so I can't wait to hear all about it. Why did you go there, and what was it like? And I think you spent 3 days there. Was that right?
I spent about 4 days there, a long weekend. It was my first time in the city. It's been on my bucket list for many years, and I've been a travel journalist for more than 20, so that's a long time to be on a bucket list. And it didn't disappoint. It's a beautiful city, and really there was far too much to see in a short period of time. But I would tell everybody to put it on their list of places to go. It's very manageable to get around. It's just amazing architecture, modern and historic. They really focus on sustainability and environmentally sound practices, which is amazing in the city itself. And the gastronomy is amazing. The restaurants have, I think, 26 Michelin stars right now, which is pretty incredible.
Wow. Really? Yeah. I didn't know that.
And it's also, there's a lot of cultural and historic attractions. They have one of the oldest monarchies in the world, and I think it's the oldest continuous hereditary monarchy that hasn't been interrupted. So
King of Denmark, would that be it? Okay. Kingdom of Denmark.
They're very the Danes are very proud of the fact that they have a monarchy, and I think they feel pretty strongly about it. So it's amazing to see the palaces and castles, and it's like a fairy tale.
Oh, were you able to take tours of the castle? Was that pretty easy to do as a tourist?
Yes, you can see. I mean, you can get in to see most of them. Obviously, not where the royalty is living right now, but it is. You can take tours of most of it, and some of them have museums inside them, and so it's really amazing to see. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Did you get to see the jewels? Sometimes you get to see those crown jewels. Yes. I always liked. You did?
The jewels are in Rosenborg Castle, which is right in the heart of the city. It's to get there, you go through this beautiful King's Garden, which is this sprawling landscape of paths and fountains and sculptures. There's a sculpture of Hans Christian Andersen in the garden. And from there, you get to Rosenborg Castle. And that's where the Danish crown jewels and the royal crowns are downstairs.
And you can actually see them. Can you see them?
You can see them. They're amazing. And the crown jewels, interestingly enough, can only be worn by the Queen, and only while she's in Denmark. They're the property of the country. They're not allowed out of the country. So, I mean, they have their own jewels, the royal family, but these jewels can only be worn while they're stunning. There's a lot of other royal treasure in that castle, but
if she wants to go to London and show off her jewels there, she can't do it. To like the prince over there. Oh, okay.
They're only worn for special occasions in Denmark. But Rosenborg Castle has, like 400 years of royal treasures that you can see within. I mean, the castles and palaces, to be honest, all start to blur and blend.
Because there's so many.
There is. I mean, there's there's that castle. And the other thing that's amazing in that castle is the Knight's Hall with the coronation thrones for the king and queen. And there's 3 life-size silver lion statues guarding the thrones, which is, just one example of the amazing things you can see in these palaces and castles. Another palace, which is right in the city, is Amalienborg Palace. And that is where royalty lives. They live right now in
They
one of
actually live there.
in 2 of the 4 buildings. Actually, the former queen, Margaret II, lives in one of the buildings, and then the current King Frederick X and Queen Mary and their children live in another. And you can go to Palace Square and see the changing of the royal lifeguard that happens at noon every day. And also, you can go into one of the buildings and see the Amalienborg Museum. It has the private spaces of former Danish monarchs, and so you can see artifacts of royal life from there. And it's just a beautiful place to walk around. So,
When I think of Copenhagen, I never really thought of palaces. Isn't that funny, being an American? Or the changing of the guard, you always think of London. I
right.
didn't know that they did that there, that there were so many palaces. I don't know. I just haven't thought of that, but that makes it even more fascinating.
It is. It's amazing. Even in just a concentrated space, there's so much. I mean, there's also Christiansborg Palace, which we didn't get to see. It was closed for, I think there was an official event going on they were getting ready for, but that's where Parliament is, and the Supreme Court and the Ministry of State. And you can go into the Great Hall there, which contains, I'm told it's amazing to see, 11 tapestries that were given to Queen Margaret on her 50th birthday in 1990. So, which is a while ago, obviously, but it depicts 1,000 years of Danish history. And so I can imagine they're exquisite, and I wish we had seen them. So it's something
Well,
I would recommend. But besides these palaces and castles that are incredible to see, there's also the National Museum, which is the country's largest historical history museum, cultural history museum. And you can learn about Vikings there, but they also have Egyptian mummies and Renaissance art, and treasures from Danish antiquity. And they even have a children's museum for kids ages 2 to 10. Museums are, usually hard to take little kids to. So this is
mm,
a great way to, put things in their perspective. Something else to do in Copenhagen is that Nyhavn is an area along the inner harbor. And it's beautiful. It's lined with colorful townhomes from the late 17th, early 18th
mm.
century. And there's wooden boats on the canal, and you can hop on a canal cruise and see Copenhagen by water from here. And you can also walk down to I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, but the Broen Street Food Outdoor Market. And
Ooh.
it's really, yeah, it's a really fun place to grab a quick meal. It's a good place for lunch. I would say there's a lot of restaurant vendors selling their versions of street food, everything from pizza and fish and chips to, I don't know, all sorts of other food. But it's locals and tourists alike who are grabbing lunches and sitting on picnic tables outside.
And
It's
is
really,
it like a fish market too, where they have because there's a lot of fish there,
there's
right?
they have other markets. This is just really a place to grab lunch. Like, you wouldn't go there to just buy food. It's more restaurants that have set up
Okay.
food trucks and restaurants. But it's a good place to, sample different food and to eat outside. It's right by the water, and again, it's so convenient. We walked everywhere throughout the city.
And what time of year did you go?
We were there in September, and I highly recommend, as with many places in Europe, visiting in the shoulder season in the spring and the fall. I think it's not as crowded, and the weather in Copenhagen can be unpredictable at any time of year. It changes there. There's so much water around them that the weather can change from hour to hour. I looked at the forecast before we left. It showed rain every day, and it rained for maybe half an hour once or twice. So
Oh, not bad. But I mean, what did now this is what every woman asks. What did you wear then in September? Because it's a little cooler.
layers. I mean,
Layers.
it's a casual city for the most part, unless you're maybe in a Michelin starred restaurant. I think people dress more casually. You absolutely can be out in jeans during the day, and even in the evenings, depending upon the restaurant. So, and we just brought layers.
Okay, and speaking of restaurants, you said there's 26 Michelin starred restaurants, but
Yes.
also, what was the food like in Copenhagen? Because again, being a typical American, I just keep thinking fish, lots of fish for some reason, and
Well,
beer.
there is
Beer.
fish, and there's a lot of fish, and we saw, there's herring on a lot. I'm not a fan of herring, I have to admit, but it's on a lot of menus. We didn't really sample as much of the Danish cuisine as I would have liked, but I will say that we tried open faced sandwiches, which I'm going to mispronounce the name of this. Smørrebrød will be my pronunciation, and you can find
I know,
it.
I understand, it's a difficult language. Yeah.
It is, but you can find it in a lot of restaurants. We went to a place called Restaurant Montergod, and I'm going to mispronounce that as well, but there were a lot of locals there. It's a good lunch spot. And these sandwiches really are a work of art. They are made with dark Danish rye bread on the bottom, and then all different kinds of spreads. And then they're topped with meat, fish, vegetables, heaping. I had a hard time navigating without a fork and a knife to eat these sandwiches. But
Because 'cause they're open-faced, right?
they are open face, but they're really good. And other things to try. I mean, Danish craft beer is, Copenhagen is really known for their craft beer. Um, Danish pastries and cakes from local bakeries are supposed to be fantastic, and Danish meatballs, and there's a whole host of other
Ooh.
things. Um, we really were running around, I have to confess, too much to do a lot of eating, but we did. For example, we went to a restaurant called Maple Casual Dining, which to me, seemed like a place I could just poke my head into. It was near Tivoli Gardens, and I thought, oh, we could just eat there. But no, you have to have a reservation. There are no walk-ins. These restaurants, if they're well known, are very hard to get into. But people were eating in jeans and sneakers, and it was, I would say, an elevated fine dining experience with amazing cuisine. So
Wow.
more casual in terms of the attire for most of these restaurants, but the food, everywhere we went, even last minute, the places we went to were very high quality cuisine.
It's funny because when I went over to Europe, not in Copenhagen, but, in Iceland, it was very casual, and I was
Yeah.
surprised. People were wearing jeans and gym shoes and, compared to maybe 10 years ago, it wasn't so much, so I felt very much at home there. Everybody was casual. Like you said, maybe a five-star restaurant, people might dress up more, but, for the most part, even at the nicer places, they were casual.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I have a question for you. You went for 3 or 4 days. Was that not enough? Was it enough? Like, I know it was on your bucket list and you don't have a lot of time. Would you suggest people go for 4 it was 4 days, right?
Yes.
4
And
days, or would you suggest longer?
I think you can get a good overview of the city in 3 or 4 days, but I would maybe recommend another day or 2 if you have the time, only because we did do a day trip. We did a combined day trip outside of Copenhagen, which you should do if you're going all that way. I mean, I think we went to Elsinore, which is 30 to 45 minutes outside of the city, to see Kronborg Castle, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's
Mm.
the setting of Shakespeare's play Hamlet, um,
Oh,
which it's unclear, it's uncertain whether or not he actually ever visited the castle, but he certainly would have been aware during the time, heard stories about its opulence, which, the castle has been restored. A lot of it had burned down at one time, and it was subjected to bombing from Sweden another time. But you can see what it would have looked like, and it's really beautiful. And from the water outside the castle, you can see clear across to Sweden. It's that close
oh, really?
at that
And
point.
how far was that from Copenhagen, would you say,
I
day
think
trip
it's
wise?
about half an hour, 40 minutes maybe by car.
Oh,
So not
okay, that's not
terribly
far.
far. And that's definitely a trip to make while you're in the city. Another is to the city of Roskilde, which is the original capital of Denmark. And it was a Viking city. For many reasons, but two of which are to see the Viking Ship Museum. So they discovered, I think in 1962, 60s, they discovered 5 original Viking ships nearby in the Roskilde Fjord, and they brought them out. And inside the museum, you can see the pieces that were remained placed as they would have been to make up the boats.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
you learn all about the importance of these Viking ships and how the Vikings just really changed history through their, navigated the waterways, and learn about the ships. And you can see workers outside recreating a Viking longboat and longship, with using the materials and the techniques that would have been used at the time. And then if you're there between May and September, you can actually go out on a wooden boat out on the water. So it's a really cool
Hmm.
museum with a lot of interesting exhibits. And also in Roskilde is the cathedral where royalty has all of Danish royalty, I believe, has been buried. They think there are 40 kings and queens buried there, and definitely no 37 graves for certain.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's amazing to see. And there's even the chapel where Queen Margaret the Second will be buried, and the design for her sepulchral monument, what it will look like. It's actually finished. You can't see it; it's covered, but you can see a little small model of what it will look like. And there are just amazing frescoes and paintings in the cathedral, and an amazing Baroque organ, which is considered one of the finest of its kind in the world.
Wow. I love all the history and, like, you're not just, like, seeing these gorgeous cathedrals and these museums that sound very interactive, but you're also educating yourself or perhaps your kids. I don't know if it's good for a 12-year-old or that type of age, but it sounds like it's pretty interactive,
Like,
and a way to bring history to their life and get them to understand about the Vikings, but, in a fun way, I guess, probably the best way to put it.
absolutely. I mean, the Viking Museum definitely has something for kids, and is more hands on than some other places might be. And as I said, the National Museum is another place where that's the case. We didn't do this, but there's definitely um, a large. You could feel the presence of Danish writer Hans Christian Andersen throughout the city.
Oh.
There's attractions towards that end, and there's, of course, you have to see the Little Mermaid statue, uh,
Oh, yes,
which
yes.
was inspired by the fairy tale and has become sort of a symbol of Denmark. You can see that it's on the water, and you can take pictures
Did you see any
of.
mermaids? Did
I
you see
wish we
any real
had.
ones?
I
Yeah.
wish they were hiding.
They do, they hide a lot, that's what I've heard. Yeah, there's
They do.
folklore that
They're
they're
there.
out there somewhere. Yeah, they're
I
there, just they, hide in the corners or something like that.
I think so.
I think little kids would love that for sure, just seeing that statue. So, okay, so when you went there, though, how did you know where to stay?
We stayed at the NH Collection Copenhagen, which is situated in the Christianshaven area of the city. It's an interesting part of the city, first of all, because King Christian IV, who is responsible for a lot of the building that went on in the city, he had visited Denmark and really liked the canals and the buildings along the canals, and wanted to recreate that in Copenhagen. So this part of the city reflects that a lot. So it's a beautiful hotel, and it's right on. You can see the harbor, the water from there, and it was originally an administrative building for a shipbuilding company. So there's a lot of nautical nods to shipbuilding in the artwork, but it has a distinct Mad Men 1950s vibe to the hotel, which is kind of cool.
Oh, I love that, like a
It's neat.
1950s, 60s
Yeah.
thing. Oh, that's
Mixed in
fun.
with Danish design. So it was really cool. And like a huge assortment of room types. President Zelensky, I'm told, stayed there 2 years ago in the presidential suite. So
Oh.
they get a lot of high profile guests. Some cool things about the hotel: it's one of the few places where they can offer for a fee parking, which is very hard to come by in Copenhagen. So if you are thinking that you're going to want a car, that's absolutely a great reason to stay at this hotel. Also, on the eighth floor is a place called The Roof. It's a rooftop bar, which is open in season, and you can get amazing signature cocktails and very elevated bar finger food up there. And it's an amazing place to watch the sunset and have a 360-degree view of the city. A good
Oh,
place. To go after sightseeing for the day and, get a drink and then head out for the night, I think it's a fantastic place for that.
That sounds beautiful. I love any rooftop bar, especially when you can see the city from up above instead of down below when you're walking around. That's always a great view. And parking. So, are there hotels that don't have a lot of parking? Is that
Parking Many that don't have parking, and it is
where
challenging to find parking in the city. It's
where do people park? Or they pay a lot of money to park?
there
Or is it
there are I'm not 100% certain. There are lots, but I think there's so much biking in the city. I've been to Amsterdam many times, and I would venture a guess that there's more biking done in Copenhagen. So it's a lot of people are taking public transportation and are biking around. I personally would not bike in a city I was not familiar with, but there are lots of people biking, and you see people getting around on the water. A lot of people are kayaking, paddle boating, rowing. In fact, the water is clean enough now that people swim in
to work? Do they swim
not
to
to
work?
work. No, people swim in the water. I don't know what kind of
They
work.
might because, well, everybody in Copenhagen, they're so, physically active. I wouldn't be
They are.
surprised if they swam to work and changed into their work clothes.
You never know.
Um, yeah, you don't know, there's gotta be one. But, yeah, and that's the other thing too, they bike everywhere, and they're professional bikers. So the thought of me biking, I think I'd, like, hold so many people up, they would get frustrated because they all have their little bells, they do the bell.
You take your life in your own hands biking, and I even walking,
Yeah.
you're constantly looking for bikes.
Would
There
you suggest then renting, or would you suggest kind of taking Uber to the main part of town and getting around on public transportation?
Again, from where we were staying, it was about a 10-minute walk to, Christianborg, Palace, which, is where I said Parliament is. It was just 10 minutes to walk there,
Yeah.
and from there, you really can walk almost anywhere. We did Uber once or twice to a restaurant, but we walked, almost everywhere. I mean, and the sister property, which is like one tier below the NH Collection Copenhagen, is the NH Grand Joanne. It's right near Tivoli Gardens, which is another site we really should mention. It's more budget friendly, but it's still a really nice hotel, and that's even not that far of a walk, to go from one to the other.
Did
But
you stay at both hotels
I did.
then?
I did.
Okay, so the other one's a little bit more budget friendly, but also next to the gardens, and
It
both
is
of them are
about
pretty
5 minutes from the
walkable?
gardens, and so you could walk, and it's from their central station, which is the main train station. But you can walk to Tivoli, and you cannot go to Copenhagen without visiting Tivoli Gardens.
It's stunning.
Even if you don't like rides, it is an amazing historic amusement park.
What
I
is it like?
it was built, in 1843. It's so there's a really antique flavor feel to the amusement park, and it's beautiful gardens, winding paths, um, everything from cafes to fine dining restaurants, food hall. They have nostalgic rides, like they have a roller coaster that was built, I believe, in 1914, and it's one of only 7 in the world that actually has a brakeman on every train roller of cars, controlling the speed
Oh,
manually.
really?
So maybe a
He's
little
on the
nervous,
roller coaster?
to be honest, but and then they have thrill rides like you would find at any other amusement park. So it's just there's live entertainment every day. And inside the park is this, I didn't step inside it, I wish I had, but this beautiful, very exclusive hotel Nimb. It looks like something you'd find in India. It's a beautiful hotel, and just 38 rooms, but there are restaurants in there. So for anyone who's listening who goes to Copenhagen, I would recommend stepping inside there. Um, but it's all lit up at night. This is amusement park, so you can go during the day, go on the rides, and then come, stay at night for entertainment and to just to just walk around. Saturday nights they have fireworks. It's
Oh
right in the
my
middle of the
gosh.
city, but with all these buildings around it. So it's um, and just as you enter, off to one side is a Lego store, which is significant because Denmark is the birthplace of Legos.
Yes, I do know that, yes. They were started there. So
Yeah.
you've got so this is a great place. You could go to the gardens, but if your kids are into Legos, I was as a kid,
Yes.
um, uh, you could go right there to the store.
Right.
There's also museums. Isn't there a museum there? Or a Lego amusement park?
There is a Lego amusement park, but not there. That's just
Okay.
one of their stores. And so, and we didn't go to anything else Lego related on this trip, but definitely the store is substantial. It's 2 floors, and you can bring back something. Maybe there's something that you can't find at the shops here that you can bring back from there. But the amusement park is a must for anybody who's going to the city. It's just fantastic.
It sounds like it's great for all ages too. If you've got
Yes.
kids, obviously you've got things for them to do. Maybe, like I said, teenagers, because it sounds like they've got bigger rides.
Yes.
Or if you're just, a couple maybe or with your girlfriends.
There's definitely some
Sounds like
romantic
everything.
spots there. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's got something for everyone. And so, I mean, it's although it's not open year round, they do open back up for the Christmas holidays and for Halloween. So there's, you can get in there at other times, not just during the summer season. They do recommend, many places have recommended that if you're going to go, if you really want to go on all the rides repeatedly, that to start earlier in the day because they're less crowded.
That's
So,
a good tip. Yeah, that's a
so
great tip. But probably during the season of May through September, they're open, right?
yes. Yeah.
But the best time to go is the shoulder season, like you just mentioned. May or September, kids are back in school. Some of the kids in May aren't out of school yet,
Right.
and it's not as crowded, right?
Exactly.
But weather's still nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
so you went, and this was on your bucket list. Why was it on your bucket list?
I,
Besides all these beautiful things you discovered.
I think, I haven't been anywhere in Scandinavia besides Helsinki, Finland. And so this was really, it's a very small country. There's about 6 million people in the whole country, little more than 1 million in the city. But it is very cosmopolitan, and it just, you know, whether it's Tivoli Gardens or just the mystique of the royalty and the castles and it's just something that is distinctly European in my head, and I really wanted to see it. So I'm very happy that I got there. I recommend it to everyone. I will say something that is another tip for your listeners or viewers who are considering going, um, is to get a Copenhagen card, which is you buy it online and you download the app onto your phone. And if you buy the card, it will give you free access to free transportation and then to many admittance to many attractions and museums. And it's just easier than having to purchase tickets everywhere you go. And you can do it for a variety of days. And we definitely found that to be an asset when we were traveling around.
Do you know I did that in Salzburg because I haven't been to Copenhagen, as I keep mentioning, but I did that in Salzburg. We got sometimes VIP access into some of the museums while people were still waiting in line. We had the tickets ready to go. We got discounts at, restaurants, and we kept just thinking, "Oh my gosh, this thing just paid off, like, over 1,000,000 times." So that is really good tip, and the public transportation, they also did that there. So you could just hop on a bus and it was free. So that's a really good tip. It saved us a lot of money, for sure, and we had a family of 4, so a lot of money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Go
Oh,
ahead,
another thing
excuse me.
people should know is that although Denmark is a member of the EU, they use their own currency. So euros may be accepted at a few larger, more well-known, established tourist attractions, but Danish kroner are the currency that's used everywhere. So, I mean, obviously you can use your credit card, but if you need cash for something, you need to transfer money.
Is the exchange rate, better than the euro or about the same?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question.
Okay.
We use credit cards almost everywhere. Whenever I travel, I'll go to the ATM at the airport when I arrive and pull out
Yeah.
some cash just to have for tipping purposes.
Mhm.
Although tipping is not as common in Copenhagen as it is elsewhere. It's often worked into
The bill.
bills at
Yeah.
restaurants, and it's just not as common.
Right. They just kinda tip up if you did a good job, but not
Right.
too much, right? Just, like, enough. So one note about the kroners, my daughter went to, Denmark this summer, and first of all, we couldn't order kroners. I always order euros from my local bank, and then it'll come in a couple days, but kroners were impossible to order, at least in the city of Chicago, so she had to get her kroners over there, but, she's dating a 6'10" football player from Denmark, so they went over there to see his hometown, and she had the best time. She was telling me how sustainable it is and how beautiful and the flowers, and she was blown away. But, you had a tip too, Suzanne, you were gonna tell us. What was that? Was it a tip?
So I wanted to mention, well, we talked about the kroners, which you absolutely should get when you land, if not before then, just to have some local currency. Although
Mhm,
we use credit cards almost everywhere, and as I mentioned, tipping is really not as mainstream as it is here.
mhm.
It's worked into a lot of restaurant bills, and it's more of an occasional thing that you would do there, not
Right.
the norm. So,
But but you have to have some cash, like, what if you saw a
always
vendor and they only took cash? So that's a good point.
exactly. And then um, speaking about spending money, for souvenirs to bring home, I always wind up last minute rushing to get things at an airport, which is absolutely not what you should do.
Mm,
Um, there's
expensive.
it's expensive and it's not as authentic. There are
Mm.
a lot of great places to shop in Copenhagen, and I'm going to mispronounce this street, but Stroget Street is the main shopping thoroughfare, and it's one of the longest pedestrian streets in Europe. And on that street and offshoots from there, you can find all sorts of shops. But as we mentioned, Legos were invented in Denmark, and so those are something to bring home. But also, Danish licorice is a big thing, and butter cookies. But Royal Copenhagen porcelain, which is blue and white, and I didn't realize that it's blue is the color because that was the only color that could withstand the high heat that had to be used to make porcelain.
Oh,
So that's
so
historically
that
the
is
color
the
that.
reason. Mm.
Also, George Jensen. I think many people have heard of George Jensen. Silver and jewelry is a good place to go for home accessories and 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 jewelry to bring home, and it's very sleek Danish style. Um, so that's another thing to bring home. That's probably easy to pack. Smaller items from there. Just some ideas of mementos to bring home from the trip.
Yeah, I always like quality mementos because years ago we'd buy the stuff, that's made in other countries and they're just selling them to sell them. But anything that's like handcrafted. I was in another city in Poland, and they had handcrafted handmade earrings, and they were great because it was easy to bring home for friends, but they
Right.
were all handmade. So, yeah, I always look for something like that, and then they'll always, usually, work with you on, pricing, barter back and forth, which is fun too in
It
that
is fun.
language.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you had a great trip, and I've been hearing about Copenhagen so much lately because my daughter going there and now you, that I'm gonna have to put this on my bucket list, but I definitely wanna go there in September or May when the flowers are still gorgeous and it's a little off season, um, but, yeah, I'll have to get my kroners. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get those. Unless my
Absolutely.
sis my cou my unless my daughter's got a few left over, I'll borrow from her maybe. But,
Gotcha.
no, it sounds like an amazing place to visit, and it's nice to know more. I feel like most Americans, we all know Paris and London and Ireland, but not so much about Copenhagen, so, I'm glad that you took it off your bucket list.
So am I. Yeah, exactly. And then if you want more information, you can go to visitcopenhagen.com, and they've got lots of great ideas for things to see and ways to craft your itinerary. And so
So
it's a great resource.
visit great resource. Visit Copenhagen.com, and that's also where you can get that Copenhagen card,
It'll
perhaps,
it,
or
it links
direct
to
you
it.
to that. All right, Suzanne, where can people find out more information? Because Suzanne has written 2 articles with a lot more details if you're interested in Copenhagen,
These articles will be up on your two websites, familytravelck.com and roundtripcolleenkelly.com.
and 2 different articles really in depth about Copenhagen. I'm gonna have to check them out because I'm gonna put that on my list. 4 days in Copenhagen, although it's not enough, but that's okay.
It's never
Sounds
enough.
It's it's never enough. It isn't. All right, thanks, Suzanne. Where are you off to next?
I'm off to Budapest in a week.
Okay, Budapest, and then you go to Asia, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then Florida, all in 2 months.
Exactly.
Okay, see,
All
this
over.
is why I can't ever see her, like, physically that often. She's always off somewhere. All right, well, Suzanne, thank you so much. Have
Thank
a great
you.
trip, and, we'll see you for the next one. Next, we'll talk about Budapest and Asia. Maybe
Looking
Florida.
forward to it.
All right, thanks, Suzanne. Good to see you
Bye-bye.
again. Bye. Well, Copenhagen sounds like an incredible trip. I learned so much. Had no idea they had all those castles, fine food, and beautiful scenery. So definitely put it on your list. Thanks for listening to Round Trip. For more inspiration, follow us at Round Trip Colleen Kelly on all socials. You can also visit roundtripcolleenkelly.com for more information and travel articles. And if you'd like to get in touch, we'd love to talk to you. You can reach us at roundtripcolleenkelly@gmail.com. And finally, if you like what you hear, please follow, subscribe, and leave us a comment here as you listen. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you to all of you who have downloaded the podcast. I am so thankful and grateful. I almost had tears in my eyes the other day. So, really appreciate it and can't wait to see you next time.